I recognize the gentleman from Kansas again, Mr. Estes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hesitate to jump into the give and take you and Mr. Schweikert have. I don't know whether I should call you acting chairman or Lord Chairman. Lord Chairman, okay, sir. This is a
Current chair.
current chair. Excellent. Well, great. This is a great opportunity to be able to get together and talk and have another round of questions. There's so many good things we want to talk about. I think so much of what we're all trying to look at is how do we get a good, strong, growing economy which ultimately provides good jobs for Americans and ultimately helps with raising tax revenue to help support the government functions that we want to have, and trying to figure out what the right policy decisions are for all of those implementations. There's a couple of questions I wanted to ask just as a follow-up, and Mrs. York, one of the things, going back into the testimony that you had, the question I had, I was trying to follow through the thought process on the double taxation of savings as it relates to a decision that somebody makes to consume today versus invest. And because to me, if they make that decision, consume today after you're paid the payroll versus investing it, the tax would be on the earnings of the investment. Yes, it's delayed, but it wouldn't be on the original investment itself. So I was trying to follow that double taxation process.
Yeah, we've got a handy chart on our website if you want to see like some number examples. But essentially, when you pay tax when you earn your money, that reduces how much you have able to put into savings. And then when you pay tax again on the return to that, it further reduces it compared to a tax where you either, like a 401k, you get to deduct that saving up front and then pay tax on the total withdrawal at the end, or like a Roth IRA, you've already paid tax on your income, you save it, and then you don't pay tax again when you make your withdrawal. In that system, you're neutral between when you're consuming your money because you're not facing that additional layer of tax for delaying your consumption. But if we do put that additional layer of tax on the returns when you've already paid tax on your principal, that's further reducing what you would be able to consume in the future. So it discourages that saving activity. It's similar to what we see under the corporate tax where you don't get to fully deduct the cost of your investment immediately. So the tax falls on that investment and increases the cost of capital, very similar to double taxing saving at the individual level.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ferry, at the end of my previous round of question, you'd made a comment that really stood out in terms of that China's manufacturing base is double the United States, and that goes to highlight a lot of what I was trying to highlight as we're talking about how do we incentivize free and fair trade and making sure that we have open markets that people can engage in a capitalist society and moving forward. One of the things I wanted to talk, I had a question in general about for you is that, one aspect of tariffs is to help protect the United States against some of these abusive practices by other countries. We've had major concern about the Chinese Communist Party stealing intellectual property for decades. And now, as Mr. Schweikert pointed out, in terms of we've started this round robin of multiple subsidizing. China's doing a super deduction for research and development expensing, which makes the United States even more vulnerable. How do you think tariffs or other trade tactics can be used to protect the United States intellectual property in future years?
It's very difficult to protect intellectual property from such a resourceful Secret Service and a huge operation that the Chinese run. I myself worked for technology companies that were victims of Chinese intellectual property theft. I don't think tariffs are the central weapon to protect against that. There are export controls and there's better security, but what you have to understand, and I think we sometimes don't take a strategic enough view. We have to step back and we have to say to ourselves, in a world like this where we run $1 trillion trade deficit, China runs $1 trillion trade surplus, and you've got other countries also exploiting our propensity to consume rather than produce, how do we rebuild our economy? And the way we do that is we rebuild sectors that are strategic, and semiconductors are one sector. There are many, many sectors that are strategic, and yes, there'll be duplication. China will be doing its own, as they are, and it's mostly, to an incredible extent, it's based on technology that was developed here, often in Silicon Valley, and stolen. But we have to accept that duplication if we want to maintain our country as a free country.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all the witnesses for being here today. I yield back.